Welcome to One Word a Day. I'm Sophia, pilot into the universe of Chinese. Let's keep exploring supposedly classical China era characters. And Chao is today's character. And Chao, if you learn the Chinese a little bit, you may know this. Not only it's pronounced as Chao, it can also be pronounced as Zhao. When I pronounced as Zhao, it mostly means morning time, at the dawn. And explainer for that is we have both the sun here is the box with one horizontal line, and the moon here, which is this crescent moon with two horizontal lines in there. So these are celestial beings that we capture in the character to mark the time of the day. So here we have on the top, we can see in the ancient version here, it's kind of a grass symbol. That means the sun just rises barely above horizon. That's it's kind of buried under grass. If we look far enough to the horizon when the sun is behind the grass. And then the bottom here, it looks like a cross, but a cross doesn't really have the same connotation in Chinese as, I shouldn't say really, it's never. It doesn't absolutely not mean crucifixion, has nothing to do with cross. In this case, actually, it's not a cross. It's the later day writing. When it's a simplification of things, it kind of changed the structure. This is not a cross. It came from this one horizontal line and with a puff of air. So here it means to let out your air, your breath out to the world. So it's a breathing function. Chinese culture that pay attention, a lot of attention to speaking, to breathing, very in tune with our internal and external exchange. So this breathing, this air out thing, go together with the sun going right barely through the grass. So that marks the early time when the sun rises up, the air, it's almost like you let out the air. um, and well, that's the contemporary reading because now we see the right side as the moon. So scholars would put the hypothesis as it is early in the day when the sun barely rises up, and then you at the same time can see the moon there, and so it's how early the dawn breaking moment. But we know when we see the 2,000 years ago dictionary here, it looks almost like the moon because it's also kind of a crescent shape. But if we look in details, it's not two horizontal lines there. It's three. And there is a poke here that's going this way. The whole thing actually means a boat. And you can kind of picture a kayak in your mind. And this is a double-seater kayak, one person in the front, one person in the back, and in the middle is kind of the separator between front and the back. And then we have the bow and the stern of the boat. So basic structure of a boat. And because the boat looks alike the moon, so in later days when people copy and kind of streamline how the character will look, they just pack it into the same character as the moon. But we know from 2,000 years ago, it has nothing to do with the moon. We're not talking about the sun moon coexisting in the sky moment at dawnbreak. It's actually here, the zhou, the boat imagery means orientation. Because over here, we're not in the dynasty concept. When it's pronounced as Chao, not as Zhao. When it's Chao, actually this moment means, I guess this is a little reverse engineering as well, because later day we know we inherited Chao means dynasty. Even if it's translated as dynasty, actually it probably more appropriately means the courtroom. proceeding. And the courtroom is not a legal, well, it could be legal. It could be, well, it's the ultimate decision-making center of the dynasties in the past. Therefore, it represent the whole dynasty because that's the center of power. That's where things are happening. That's the brain, so to speak, the executive function of the whole country. And this concept is made of the sun, right? Barely above the grass, that's the same. And this puff of air going up also give you this breaking through the barrier of the night, that the sun is popping through the horizon, barely above the grass. And then this thing, arch with a tip thing, that means the sun ray. And take up the boat imagery, the whole left side, which we no longer use in our everyday language, is pronounced as gun. I have to memorize it because I have no clue. I don't use it in my lingual. But this gun, the whole thing, the sunrise with the sun ray means the sun beaming like that, like radiating of the sun. That's the whole concept. We use just one singular sun ray to give you the sense of the whole spoke of sun ray. I mean, spoke is also a human way to express how the sun radiates. Of course, it's not just spikes like that. It's 360 degree. There's no ups and downs at the spikes, but everywhere, right? The whole sphere. So this sun radiating with the boat image means the courtroom proceeding. And I reverse engineer it as, okay, the boat is probably be there to symbolize individual officials. I guess you have to be higher enough officials and ministers that manage a segment of the government. You have to go gather in that courtroom to orient yourself toward the radiation of the Son of Heaven. I mean, yeah, the ruler back then regarded himself as kind of a superhuman semi-divinity thing to, justify himself sitting on the throne versus everybody else is facing that one ruler as if he is the sun beaming, right? And you're all this boats, you have to orient yourself and to gather facing toward just one person, one ruler. And that kind of give you the visual sense of what this is about is one ultimate decision maker and everybody else kind of the think tank or the executive branch of the country gather and to talk about national affairs, international affairs, make decisions over there. Kind of, they have to do, kind of similar to today's congregational debate. So you have to have two sides at least to state their opinions, and then the ultimate decision maker will would make a choice. So that's the scenery we're trying to create here. So this radiation of everybody orient themselves as a boat facing one decision maker is the I guess as a more realistic rendering of that moment. Okay, 朝廷, ting simply is means the hall, the space. So 朝廷 means the court hall. And because it's kind of congregational, right? If we compare to today's government structure. So that means it's a room full of a lot of powerful people in this country, right? The one ultimate decision maker facing a lot of top officials from different branches, and they gather, and it gotta be a big, tall hall building. So that's 朝廷, that's the Congress or the decision making, law making place of the country. 唐朝 Tang. Okay, we probably in English world people heard about this Tang Dynasty. It's one of the most, I guess, glorious era in so many dynasties. so many dynasties simply because it was relative to the rest of the world, a time when China was the leader of the world in economy, and 万国来朝, like everybody else have to travel to here, kind of like today's America, right? Everybody have to travel here to learn the latest technologies, to pick up the trends over there, and so town is was probably perceived themselves as the center of the world. Therefore, Tang Dynasty holds a special place in Chinese history. 朝见, we know, is a human scene. So 朝见 is the special type of scene that you are going in court to see the emperor himself. Mostly, like I don't know what's the percent. We only have one official female emperor through the history. So all the rest of them are guys. So it's most likely him. So that's a special type of seat. And there, you can imagine it's a special type of procedure and behavior requirement. So 朝见, you cannot take it lightly. It's a big business. And not only like everybody try to win their arguments over there. But a misstep, if you show any disrespect or something, right, it could be cutthroat. So 朝见 is a special kind of 见. It's, I guess, a critical moment for the person who ever, prepare or be in that position to see the one ruler of the country. So here is a kind of a residual of almost give you a little bit of a ceremonial sense of this chao, this not only the decision-making center, the power center of a whole dynasty, but also the how solemn you have to behave, right? You have to dress a certain way, behave a certain way, and all these mystic animals kind of give you kind of a supernatural background there, right? And with all that line up behind you, and then you conduct your stately business, and that's your chao. Thank you for your time. See you another day.